guys, hello gorgeous. And this Fort Max is gorgeous because of all the upgrades that have been added to him, but there is one that is very conspicuous by his absence. That's why Fort Max has his hand all spread out, and this is where the DNA upgrade hand with this weird articulation of the fingers being able to go like that comes in handy if you really want to emphasize the empty-handedness of Fortress Maximus. Fans of the animated Japanese show Headmasters, which was a continuation of the G1 cartoon, know all about the Master Sword. And the Master Sword was released with Takara's Fortress Maximus, but we also got some third-party upgrade reproductions. This is called Solution Set, Master Cannon and Master Cleaver. It's pretty obvious which is which. This looks a lot like the G1 Fortress Maximus gun. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the perfect effect. So I held off on getting a Master Sword for a while because I didn't grow up on Headmasters. The Master Sword isn't really something I really relate to Fortress Maximus all that much. For me, it was Max's photon laser as well as the double-barreled one. But I've been watching some Headmasters and really enjoying what I'm seeing, so I thought, well, yeah, I'll pick up a Master Sword. And it is beautiful. This clear effect, I wasn't aware it was going to be see-through plastic. It is incredible. It's basically like a tech spec meter, and I'm going to have to pull out G1 Transformers box just so we can read some tech specs thanks to this Master Sword. And I just grabbed some cassettes off of the wall here, and it works. It's perfect. It is totally like a tech spec meter. What an added bonus that is. That's fantastic. And you can also hold it right up to your eye and get Terminator vision, basically. You can be searching for John Connor if you've got this up against your eye. So this is it's a fairly simple design, but it's beautiful. It's very glossy, nice plastic on it. Comes in two parts, so you're able to separate it for shipping or for storing. To assemble the blade, you take the tip part of the blade, and you would think, or at least I thought, it was supposed to go in like this, with this little piece, this nub, going on the inside, feeding in somehow. That is not how it goes, actually. It goes the other way. It just plugs in. Post into there, and then these are kind of like teeth that just fit in there and secure, and so that little post kind of just sticks out there, sort of like it does right here. And I wonder why that is. I wonder if that's in order to attach it somewhere onto Fortress Maximus. And I've been waiting a long time to do this. So it should be able to go in either way. The handle has the little post part that fits into the gap, same way that the rifle fit in there, and you can just decide which way you want in. I'll go with this way. You want to fit the hilt over top of the thumb, press it in, and it fits perfectly. It's tight, but not too tight. Looks like the hilt, it does not move. So on the original Fortress Maximus, you could spin the blade. This is just in there like that. You wrap the thumb around, wrap all of the fingers around. Thanks to the Perfect Effect hands, they just fit beautifully around the sword. There's a lot of give thanks to those up and down movements. And there's the Master Sword. Wow. So I'm telling you, as a guy who's not that big a fan of the Master Sword, this is spectacular. The clear blade on it makes all the difference. A couple years ago, Perfect Effect did their own clear blades, and I got one for my G1 Fortress Maximus, and it was okay. I guess you really need the posability in order to show off such a colossal sword. You really need all that extra articulation in order to position it however you want, you can try, he doesn't have wrist up and down tilt, but you can have the sword pointing up overhead by the power of Nebulos. It just, once again, makes a huge transformer. Even bigger, you could even, he's got so much range in his articulation, you can just have him as if he's drawing it from behind on his back. Can't really figure out any way to attach it to his back. I'm sure there's a way, but this sword is kind of like Predaking's sword. You're going to want to have him actually holding it in action with it instead of having it just be in storage. And then the other part of the set, total bonus, he's blasting away, total bonus part of the set, but they include a gun too. And it's Fortress Maximus's blaster, which is so similar to the original G1 Fortress Maximus blaster. It's got a really nice, like, fine metallic coat to it. It's not actual metallic plastic, but just like a little sparkle, a little metallic sparkle. I don't know if you can pick that up. Yeah, I think you can see that on the lens too. And that pretty much is how it looks to the human eye. Sometimes things look a little different, more spectacular or less spectacular to the human eye than they do on camera. But that's just looking at it in person here as well as on my viewfinder. That's about right. And give you a little quick comparison to the G1 version of the gun. It's very similar to the G1, just a little bigger. Basically, they've just taken Fort Max's original gun and added a few little things to it. Very true to the original, though. We've got this design here. Even the little squares here are carried over. They've added a red paint here for the scope, as well as on the front of the scope, and what G1 Fort Max's gun really needed. Plus those waist cannons on G1 Fort Max. A barrel. So that's a nice little upgrade, too. This one, it has a moving handle to it. So once you put it in Fortress Maximus's hand and you wrap his fingers around it, you can kind of point it up and down if you want. If you don't have the range in the elbow, or if you don't want to do it, the elbows still have a lot of movement when you click them, not as much as the hips now that I've upgraded them. But it's nice that you can tilt it a little bit so he can be shooting at little guys, or point it straight down. That almost looks like when you crack open a rifle to reload it. That's kind of a cool look too. And in case you're wondering, in terms of detail difference with the Perfect Effect gun, you know, this one is nice, but I'm reminded of some words by Soundwave, something about inferior and superior. This Perfect Effect gun is just spectacular. So much detail in it, so much beef to it, a lot more paint applications to it. You got light silver, dark silver, red. You've got the moving stock on it in order to, I mean, even when this gun is collapsed, it's still bigger than the solution set gun, and the scope is just spectacular. But if you want to get one of each, then what you could do, if we take the Master Sword out here and we pop in the Perfect Effect gun, here's another look you can go with. If you don't want your Fortress Maximus using a sword, if you're more of a North American Fortress Maximus fan, comic Fortress Maximus fan, and Max never used a sword in the comic, and you want to go for that dual gun look, well, one of them isn't a double barrel, but one of them is a smaller gun. Kind of the same feel, same idea as G1 Fortress Maximus. You got your giant rifle here with the stock extended, and then like a little hand cannon, a little hand pistol. And I think that looks nice together, actually. I think I would actually prefer that over having two of these. putting one of these in each hand. That's a little too much beef and heavy artillery. And it's going to also make them really wobbly too. This thing is heavy. So that's kind of a nice combination. But for my Fortress Maximus, this sword is just gorgeous. So I'm going to be going with sword in one hand and the Perfect Effect Blaster in the other hand. And got them all armed up there again with the Master Sword. How cool is this? If you do want to store this, they actually do have a way of attaching this cannon to his back, and it's hidden. It's looking for a peg somewhere. I've seen this gimmick before in another weapon, but there's a little lever right here. And if you push that either that way or the other way, it's ambidextrous. So rather than just having these pegs there all the time, you can choose what side you want to store it on. And there's still this hole on his back here that hasn't been covered up by one of those Perfect Effect plugs. And you can just store the gun either on his arm, or there's also a hole on his back. Oh, that looks super cool. That's awesome. So nice to be able to store that on there. So yeah, I really, really like the combination of this rifle and that rifle. But I also, you know, I want the Master Sword in his hand. So just having it back there if I ever want to do a swap, really nice to not have to go find it, dig it out of a box somewhere out of storage. Or another option is to plug it into this hole that's on the top of Fortress Maximus's shoulder, and now you can have a shoulder mounted cannon, kind of similar to a lot of the G1 year 1 Autobots, Jazz and Sideswipe. And a little comparison for the G1 sword, whoops, that comes out like that detaches from the hilt. It's actually, the G1 hilt is bigger. It's actually wider across the G1 hilt, but the new Master Sword is ever so slightly longer. But they're just about the same size, except for that hilt being a little bit wider. And then they had to have this big beefy handle for G1 Fort Max's hand to be able to hold this. But really awesome upgrade. Maybe if the original looked like that with the clear red, would have been a much bigger fan of it, but just having a huge sticker on it, it's okay, but it's not something that has nostalgia for me. This I also don't have nostalgia for, but it just looks plain cool. It's like stained glass window in the Church of Maximus. It's so cool to be able to see through it, as well as being able to see Fortress Maximus through it too when you hold it up close next to him like that. And I never thought I would be doing this with Fortress Maximus, but I'm always curious to see if a figure can double hand a sword. Just recently tried to do it with Lion-O from Thundercats Ultimates line, and this Fort Max does have a lot of articulation, especially now that he's got these fingers that are so opposable. So let's see, it's the one shame is that this doesn't turn like the original one turned. See, this turns to however you need it to be. This one is stationary. It's one piece, it looks like. That seems to just come out, but maybe it's not supposed to. Yeah. But nevertheless, we'll see if... Now, he's got a lot of stuff getting in his own way. His thing right here is getting in his way. This other thing is getting in the way. These little guns I've placed on the top feel like they might get in the way. The cannons, definitely. We might want to collapse the waist cannons, or possibly even just get rid of them. And the main problem right here is this corner of this thing right here. That's causing all the problem right there. And we'll see if we can get around it. I think we can. So it's one hand doing all the work, really, and the other hand just kind of wrapping around for look. They don't really want to ratchet in place this way, but it can be done. I mean, it's big, it's bulky, it's not all that secure. It's really not in the cards, I don't think. There's not much you're going to be able to do in terms of double-handing this sword. So it's a thing you can try just out of curiosity, like I just did. But this sword is mainly intended for one-hand use, and plus that frees up his other hand for either the cannon that was included with the set or this really awesome perfect effect cannon, which is how I want to display my Fort Max. This guy certainly does not need any help appearing to be bigger than he already is, but that's exactly what this Master Sword does. If you have it held out like this, pointed out to the side a little bit, it's almost hitting my microphone there. Incredible wingspan for him now, thanks to this Master Sword. Or you can just turn it in if you don't have that much space on your shelf, so that it's just kind of closer to the body. But that see-through red, especially when you're seeing the white through the see-through red, really, really nice effect. Nice clear plastic, not cloudy at all, not scratched up. Beautiful stained glass look to it. And I didn't even mention the other coloration on here too. These are paint applications, but they really go nicely with the clear red on the Master Sword. Yeah, I'm super impressed with how that came out. That is one tricked out Fortress Maximus, and that is more like it. Turns out the Titans Return Fort Max that they sold us a couple years ago was just a starter kit. And it can get a bit pricey to add all these extra little third-party upgrades, but the way I did it was a little bit at a time, one every year or so. I didn't drop all the money all at the same time, and that was a fun way to do it. Just slowly upgrade my Fort Max so that 4 years after getting him, now he is exactly the updated modern masterpiece style Fortress Maximus that I really wanted back in 2016. Alright, that's what I thought. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're digging what I'm doing and want to help me keep doing what I'm doing, as well as join an awesome community of fellow toy fans, check out patreon.com/michaelmercy. Bunch of Patreon exclusive videos on there, plus a whole bunch of great roundtables, get-togethers, watch parties. We've got a great group of friends there. The word community gets used a lot, and that's what we have, but I like to call it a brotherhood and a sisterhood too. We've got some good sisters on there as well. So check out patreon.com/michaelmercy. It's really easy to use. Even people who aren't very tech savvy and internet savvy. I've heard from a lot of good brothers who don't know how to do all that stuff, and they were able to figure out how to join Patreon. So they've made it very simple for people, and you can use it either on a computer or a tablet or on your phone too. Thanks for watching. To join the tribe, hit subscribe and click the chime to be notified each time a new video is released. Nerdmaste.